So, welcome everyone. I am Carolyn Day, and I have been fostering and bottle feeding kittens now for a few years here in Savannah, and I was very fortunate to have someone show me the ropes on a one-on-one basis, and so I'm excited to have and hold these workshops with Stephanie McDowell, who works with the Humane Society here, and we are excited that you are here to learn about how we can help these members of the most vulnerable population in terms of animal rescues. Often they are little ones that are defensive, they have no immune systems, and they take time and energy and love, which is the most important component. So even if you decide at the end of this workshop, you know, this isn't for me, I'm not sure I'm in it, you'll leave here as an informed citizen of our community, and maybe you might find someone who perhaps this is a good idea for them. So what we're going to do here is go through a couple of the key basics in today's workshop. We're going to talk about why it's so important that we do this. When we first get these kittens, how do we establish that they are healthy, and also look for signs on where they might get into trouble. We're going to talk about the daily care routine for them, how do we monitor and track that. And then we get to the messy stages where your little kittens start walking around and walking through their food and all that type of fun things there. And then eventually, how do we let go of them and say goodbye? Which a lot of people ask me that as a foster. You foster all these incredible kittens, how do you say goodbye at the end? And so I'm going to give you some tips and clues on how to do that. So the first thing to really recognize is to ask yourself the question, am I even ready emotionally and in my living situation to be able to do this? The kittens, when you get them, are generally about maybe this big. They don't take up a whole lot of space. People worry and think that they have to have their own separate room, that type of stuff. But generally the kittens, when they're that small in particular, are self-contained, and I often would be walking around with an animal carrier with a heating component in there. My kittens live in that. They're separate from all my animals in the house. But you need to ask yourself, am I emotionally ready to have this incredibly vulnerable, wonderful, time-consuming life in my house? Is everyone else who lives in my house okay with it, or do I have animals that when they see the kitten, or maybe there's some situation, they're going to be like, oh my God, food, right? So can you reasonably do this? Are you willing to do this? Are you in a situation where maybe you're able to take a kitten to work legally? I've been known to sneak in a couple, and in places on my body where I shouldn't, where I work, because I'm not allowed to have them. But maybe you might be in a situation where you can bring kittens in, and instead of stepping out and having your vape or your cigarette, you can bottle feed a kitten instead there, and help your mental health in other ways. So think about, are you able to even do this? Is a good starting point there. And if you're a yes for that, then often you get the question, well, why are they orphaned? Why are these kittens coming into the animal shelters, and why is it so important that you are in this room? And the reason why we get these kinds of kittens in this population is for a number of reasons. Sometimes well-meaning strangers may do what we call kidnapping, where they see a kitten on the side of a road or under a bush or something like that, and then they think, oh, the mama's abandoned it, but that mama could be off hunting food while the kitten is sleeping. Or maybe the mama was in the middle of transporting and moving kittens, and she might have 5 kittens. She can't stick them all in the mouth. So maybe that kitten was the last one to be left behind there. So well-meaning strangers sometimes kidnap kittens and then bring them into shelters. Or sometimes incidences can happen to the actual parent, the mama, who was maybe feeding the kittens. I have 2 cats my own who, that was the situation with them. Their mama got hit by a car, and so I bottle fed them, and then they're not going anywhere, those 2. You'll see photos of them soon. Or maybe they are, have medical issues, that type of stuff, and so they come and people find that perhaps a little bit overwhelming there. The kittens themselves, I mentioned the vulnerable population. It's not just because of that lack of the immune system, but also they are typically and statistically in animal control shelters the #1 euthanized population. And thankfully, because of workshops and people like you, we're starting to change that statistic, because these little vulnerable guys, they're not puppies where everyone wants a puppy, and so they do need that time to bottle feed them and get them strong and healthy. And so we're starting to build nationwide more of an awareness of what's going on with these kittens and how they can be incredible socialized animals. My cats, for example, greet everyone and tap you on the shoulder if you're not giving them attention when you come to my house. And people say, cats act like this? And I say, yes, you can do this too with a cat. So we want to change these statistics and help these little guys out. So this is actually my first batch of bottle babies ever. They're a little bit smaller than I anticipate what you'll get here. But the first thing that you'll do is, if you're given a kitten, and Stephanie and the medical team here at Humane Society will go through and do health checks. But what you want to do is, when you first get your kittens, is to run down this list. So if you want to turn to the second page there of your handout, you'll have a list of kind of questions. So the first thing you want to do is, feel your kittens. Are they warm? Are they kind of just a little bit warmer than our human temperature? If so, that's a good thing. Or are they cold? And if they're cold, you don't get out a hairdryer and start heating them up. What you do is you just slowly put them on you against your body, and you slowly bring them to temperature like that. So the very first thing to do is to keep them warm. And that's the key to survival, is keeping them warm above everything else. It's most important. And then look for fleas and parasites, welcome, and see if they have any fleas on them. Fleas can be very dangerous for the little tiny things, because they are very small when they first come in, and it can cause them to be anemic very quickly, these types of flea bites. Plus it gives them parasites, worms, that type of stuff. So you want to check for fleas, give them a bath, which I'm going to run through in a moment. And then you do the test to see if they are dehydrated. This is a test that you will do consistently throughout the time you have your bottle babies and while you're bottle feeding them. Not all of your kittens will come with a purple tail. Okay. But the way to do and check to see if your kitten is dehydrated is to do a pinch test. So mamas, they have loose skin at the back of their neck here, and mamas carry them around or in their mouth using the scruff of the neck. There's extra skin there. Holding a kitten will not hurt them because they have lower body weight. Obviously I couldn't lift my grown cat like this, but the kittens you can. And what you do is you test that and then let it go and see how quickly that skin returns back to normal. If it's going slowly back, that kitten's dehydrated. Okay. So that's how you constantly check them. And when I have kittens, I will constantly, just as a matter of habit, routinely in between feedings, just kind of check their scruffs there to make sure that they're well hydrated and that type of stuff there. Also look for their eyes. Are their eyes, if they're open, which they don't open until around a week to day 10, are they nice and shiny there, or do they look kind of, a little bit dry? So look for stuff like that. Also, when you first get them, look for any wounds. So just do an overall routine check to make sure that there are no puncture wounds or scratches, or maybe things that might be attentive or looked at. So kind of whenever I get a kitten for the first time, I create a little chart, which there's some on the back table there, and I will write down some notes. Ooh, stinky poopy from this cat, and I don't know what that is on its toe, And so I'll make all those types of notes. And then that becomes important medical records for the team here at Humane Society, so they can say, hey, what happened to that toe? How's that toe going? Let's have a look at that. And is the poop changing? That type of thing. So we want to see if they have any wounds there, or what's their level of fleas. Stephanie, I'm going to put you in charge of technology. Also look to see what their overall energy level is. Newborn kittens, their eyes, as I mentioned, are shut for the first week, but their hind legs are really powerful. So if your kitten is shuffling around and doing this kind of grunty thing and using its back legs, that's a healthy, happy kitten. It's got good energy. But if your kitten's just lying there and doing nothing for hours at a time, that's a kitten that's in trouble there. And so you want to watch for those types of things. And in that situation, you would reach out to Stephanie there. And then finally, have a look at their eyes. What's going on with their eyes? If they are open, are they clear and bright? Or are they looking like they are a toddler in a daycare center? Are their eyes all gummed up and they're not looking bright and clear. And so if that's the case, or it's a kitten sneezing, they literally are like toddlers in a daycare sometimes. They sneeze and get flus and they pass it around, and it can be kind of a little bit troublesome for them because, again, no immune system. Okay, so once you think your kitten, you've established where they are health-wise, maybe you've received creams from the center here to give them eyes to help them clear up the eyes or the sneezing and the gumminess there. You can see here are 2 kittens that I got, for example. This is Kiwi and his brother Ozzy. And Ozzy, you can see he's not doing too great, right? Because his eyes are all gummed up, and he didn't have the same level of energy as Kiwi, his brother, did, and he actually had a high fever when I got him. Okay, so check for those types of things when you see the kittens here. And then once you've kind of got those basics down, you want to give them a bath. And the first thing we want to do is get rid of all those fleas that they have. They come as just a part of the natural habitat here in Georgia. We've got lots of fleas and ticks and stuff. So what we do is we get Dawn dish soap, and good old Dawn dish soap, and we create a ring of the soap around their neck. Anyone want to guess why we do that? Why do
the fleas don't go past them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because what happens is those fleas, they are mind readers, and it's almost as soon as they hear the water running, they will start running to the top of the kitten's head or trying to escape in between their claws and their feet there. But as you say, if you put in a ring of dish soap around the neck, it captures the fleas as they go to the top of the head there. And so you'll see as you go to wash them, there's more fleas around that neck than anywhere else on that body. So Dawn dish soap to using the fleas here, and then after you give them a gentle bath, try not to dunk them. In fact, don't dunk them there. And what will happen is you just give them a nice lukewarm bath. And most people say, well, then we towel dry them. I'm like, yeah, but they can't hold their own temperature at such a young and early age. So what you want to do is gently blow dry them. There, I have a deep sink, kitchen sink that I use where that kitten can't escape for the life of it, and it will protest, but I'll have the hairdryer just gently circling air around that kitten. And then I always give them, of course, the cuddles afterwards while I wait for the last of the drying, that type of stuff there.
Will the dish soap kill the fleas?
Yes,
Okay,
Dawn
okay.
dish soap kills fleas.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I just go over and make sure there's none on the head and in between the claws. Yeah, good question. So I make sure they're warm, and we don't want to dunk them. And then this is one of my little guys here that had just had his bath and is in the towel and ready for the hair drying stage there. Okay, so now we've got them warm, clean, and it's time to start feeding them here. Okay, so what do we feed them? So when we have, let me take a step back. Our goal here at Humane is to set you up for success. So we're not going to give you this little teeny preemie babies or anything like that if they're not even worth a paperweight, that type of stuff. What we'll do is we'll give you kittens that will use bigger syringes or will even be bottle sized when you get ready to feed them. The little teeny tiny guys, you can see here in a photo, this is a kitten that is less than a week old. So this is a really teeny baby, which we would give to you once you're more experienced and comfortable doing this. And that little tiny guy would be literally drinking for each feeding out of a syringe, yay size. And so we wouldn't expect you to do that. You typically would get a kitten that's maybe 2 or 3 weeks of age, and by then they're starting to incrementally getting bigger amounts in a bottle. And on the bottle, we will give you bottles, the kits and everything here. This is what's called a miracle nipple. It mimics the nipple on a mama there. And the bump around here, I guess, for lack of a better term. Sorry, I had COVID. That's it mimics what happens to the mother when they suction on it there, and allows them to put their scent onto it so they know it's for food. And then we just give them regular feedings here. So little kittens, you'll see in terms of the chart, if you want to go to page, you see here, it's the one with our little chart here. I'll come back to the bathroom business.
The chart out as well.
Yeah, that's my chart. Here we go. I guess it skipped forward. Here we go. All right. So here is my little kitten Tomlin, okay? So we want to keep warm. So let's talk about the feeding here. So let's go to the page where we've got milk and the kitten with the milk and starch here. So I mentioned we want to keep them warm, and what I do is I have a portable animal carrier, and you will be provided with a heating pad from Humane Society. And between that and the kitten, you want to put towels there so that they don't hurt their skin, on the heating pad there. And then you start feeding them. So you want to clean and disinfect all of your bottles, just like you would with a newborn baby. So I have a couple of different containers. One container is the dish soap and water, where I scrub and I clean all my bottles and my paraphernalia when feeding the kittens syringes. And then I put it into a very lightly diluted bleach water solution to kind of disinfect it afterwards. And then I put them out to air dry, or I even scrub them really well and run them through my dishwasher as well as another way. So make sure everything's clean and disinfected there. And you want to feed on a regular basis. So our next slide here, the kitten weight and feeding chart. And out the back here on the table, we have a kitten bottle feeding and stomach capacity chart. This is kind of my Bible here, where what will happen is every morning you'll weigh the kitten and you'll say, okay, so you are 11 pounds, so you're about 2 weeks old. Yeah, you're on track. And, 11 ounces. 11, yeah, that's a lot of formula. 11 ounces. And so I'm going to have to feed you probably 6 to 7 times today. So that's maybe every 3-4 hours there. So this is a fabulous chart here. There's also this is the Kitten Ladies chart. And you start just gently incrementing a little bit more with each feeding, and feed them on that, 2 for the teeny weenies, through to every 3 to every 4 hours as you go through there. The reason why we feed them anyone want to guess? Why do we feed them so often? Do you want to guess? Why do we feed them so often? Do you eat every 3 hours? No? You would if you could? Well, the reason why we do it is their stomach capacity is so small. And they're primarily getting their proteins and their sugars and all fats from the formula. And so because their stomachs are so small, though, they can't process a whole lot of that all at one time there. So you need to do it on a regular basis. And it's important to kind of keep to somewhat of a routine, so that the kittens have their sugars and all that at a really good level all of the time. I had a kitten, and I kid you not, this kitten knew literally to the minute, because I used to set timers, and that kitten was awake a minute before the alarm would go off. It was creepy. Remember when I told you that? Yeah. I was just like, what is going on with this kitten in here? So I set alarms and feed it. Now, I'm going to teach you a trick here. You've probably looked at this now and you're thinking, oh Lord, why am I in this room? There's no way I'm getting up through my night every 2 to 3 hours to feed a kitten. Anyone thinking that? I know I thought that when I first started. One secret trick that you can do, maybe not when they're kind of teenies, which is why we give them to more experienced fosters, but a kitten that's 2 or 3 weeks old and you can see it's doing well, their mamas are now starting to actually leave them in the kitten nest while they go off and hunt and get food themselves there. So I would mimic that. I would give the kitten the feeding at 11 o'clock, and then I would squeeze in earlier another feeding at 2 a.m. and then the kitten and I would sleep through until 6 or 7. So we would have a good 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep for both of us. But then, I trained my son to do it, and he's a night owl, gaming with people in LA, so I made him feed them. Win-win. Right? So think about how often you're going to feed the kitten. And just with newborn babies, you don't want to give them cold formula, so you want to warm up your formula there so that it's not a shock to their system Everything needs to be at human temperature. Do the wrist test. Make sure that formula is not too hot there. And then after you feed them, literally, once you bottle fed the kitten, you burp the kitten. And they won't go, they won't do that, but they'll do a noise there. And this is time also to, kind of bring in friends and family, and they'll be like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm burping the kitten. And they'll be like, can I? I'm like, sure. Give them the kitten, and they'll be like, on the person. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, just keep patting it. Okay. So one of the ways you bottle feed it here is bringing back the bottle, and this is key as well, is when kittens are suckling from their mama, they are lying literally as this kitten is with their hind legs flat on the floor like this. So this kitten, he's actually in a perfect position, why I like her. Him, her, they. Okay. And that their back legs will be splayed on the ground like this, and then they will be suckling from the mama. So you want to mimic that. And the way we do it when we are bottle feeding is to imagine there's a nipple on this, is we put the kitten on a flat surface. And typically I put down a towel, because then it feels and kind of mimics mama a little bit. And then I want to bottle feed the kitten with the bottle at a slight angle up. And have the kitten lying and suckling like so here. Okay, this is important, because when we do this type of an angle with the kitten, you'll see that they are tummy down, and they are not like in reverse we do with humans. And what happens if we feed a bottle baby kitten like this, the milk will aspirate them. It won't go into their tummy. It unfortunately would go into their lungs, because they have a different anatomy than us there. So always, always, always tummy down when you feed your kittens there. So in your kittens, they'll kind of get the hang of it at first 24 hours. They'll be a little bit fussy there. And sometimes that milk will go cold, and if you've never done it before, the formula's cold, the kitten's fussing, you're panicking, wanting to call Stephanie in a panic. But that's where you take a step back for a moment and actually feel the temperature of your formula, and you'll note that because you've gotten all stressed out, the kitten's picked up on your stress. Warm up your formula, chill a minute, and then start again. Yes?
So you're saying that instead of doing like a human baby,
this is no.
And so they do that by sucking. They can get it themselves.
Yes. You're working in tandem as a team with the kitten. Yeah. So you can put a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of pressure on the kitten to help the formula flow through the nipple there. And you'll start to learn the kitten, and the two of you will get in tandem there over time. So it takes maybe about 48 hours to get that team rhythm going. But once you do, the two of you are champions there. Yeah.
The reason we do that is fighting with the TV, but you can aspirate a kitten very easily if you're feeding them stomach up. When a kitten is eating from their mom, they're doing it tummy down, suckling and kneading on her. So
Good to know.
Yeah, and so kittens, they do the kneading, and we see adult cats do that too. And that kneading is to stimulate the milk from the mama, which is another reason why I put them on that towel, so they get that nice rough feeling. And then you'll start hearing them make a clicking noise, which sometimes people go, is that something's wrong? Is the kitten broken? I'm like, no, it's pre-purring, it's purring. It's like this really gorgeous little clicking noise that's going on there. Okay. So we're going to start feeding them on a regular basis, giving them really nice warm formula. At home, I have just a sterile couple of containers like this that I pre-mix my formula for the day based on the weight of the kitten, shake it all up, and I store it in the fridge. I never re-put back in old formula. I just pour out what I need, warm it up, feed the kitten, and then toss out what I don't need. And the next day, repeat the cycle. So I always have fresh things like this. And knowing that my kittens kind of get a little bit spoiled, I like doing holistic medicine. Knowing they have no immune systems, I will put into the container with the formula a tablet or capsule of probiotics as well, stuff like that to help them develop their immune systems while they're going through there. Keep all of this sterilized and cold, and then heat it up when it's time for the kitten. And I'm one of those ladies that I'll go to a cafe and I'll order lunch and then say, can I have a cup of hot water please? And they'll look at me and they'll bring the cup of hot water, and then I will pop that bottle in, and you should see how many people come. And that is my advertising moment to say, in about 5 weeks, this kitten will be adoptable. Here's our number, right? This is its name. So I have sneakily done that. I've pimped out my kitten at cafes. Right? So here you can see tummy down, okay, and this little kitten's on the towel there, and this was me at work. So a different job. So they allowed me to bring the kittens in. Well, all of this food that's coming in the front has to go somewhere, and it comes out the back. So we have this assumption that the kitten is going to poop and pee on its own. But essentially, kittens under 3 weeks of age are equivalent to paperweights. They can't do anything. They can't keep themselves warm, which is why we keep them warm. They can't feed themselves, which is why we bottle feed them. And they also can't go to the bathroom by themselves, which is why we mimic what a mama cat does. Do we lick our kittens? No. Whew. Right? We don't want to be doing that. But what we do is we get a little bit of tissue and we gently, excuse me, I'm just going to go down the back, okay? We gently stimulate. This one you can hold them up, and often, you know, after you feed them and do the potty thing, they burp for me then, so I kind of get a win-win. And I use the tissue and I just gently stimulate, and then they will pee up a storm as they're well hydrated there. And maybe once every 24 hours, 48 hours, you'll get a nice little poop. So it's really whatever you feel comfortable with there. But you want to use that tissue paper, gently stimulate them. Your kitten, if they haven't gone poop for 3 days, that's a problem. It means that they're constipated. And so I do little very, very gentle little tummy circles on their tummy, and I go around in a circle just to gently massage the intestines there. If that doesn't work, I'll do that, and then often that will get the poop going. Or, and you know, check in with Stephanie, a tiny drop of olive oil that'll clean them out. Right? Well, I actually just put a tiny bit on my finger and just stick it at the roof of their mouth.
Okay, because I wasn't sure how that.
Mm-hmm. But that's the last resort. The olive oil is the last resort. But yeah, if you've got a constipated kitten, oh yeah. So, and then you might find that, you know, your kitten, maybe they had a couple of days of stored up stuff down there, and then they've gotten really dirty. So I use the wipes. So after I use the toilet tissue, I have baby wipes, non-scented. So these are those kind of sensitive, whatever, non-chemical, you know, so I use these very, very gentle ones here on the kittens. And if they're really kind of poopy or dirty, then I will give them a bum bath. So I just will give them a bath with literally just their bum, and then I will dry it and hair dry it, because I don't want to traumatize the kitten and have to constantly do the whole body and, you know, get their heads cold and then drop their temperature all over again. So I just give them a quick sponge bath or bath on the bum there. Okay. And as I mentioned, I give them probiotics to help with that. Keeping them warm, I feel like I should backtrack just a quick step, that it's really important to keep your kittens warm at all times. And sometimes they will move around on heat sources, which is why you want to contain them in either a nice box that they're safe in, or a bathtub with lots of blankets and a heating, you know, blanket. That kind of stuff is really good. People find that helpful to contain kittens there. Or, you know, if you're hanging out with them and cuddling them and stuff, you might want to just kind of tuck them up and cuddle them there. So here what I've got is a 100% cotton blanket. And I routinely go to the local thrift stores, and when I see that people are throwing out the 100% cotton blankets, and I'll pass this around so you can feel and know, that I will snag them and then I use them for all of my kittens there. We don't want to use anything with polyester in it because it doesn't breathe and then it overheats the kitten. Okay, but these types of blankets are wonderful. People ask if they can hold your kittens, and my advice is no. Okay. So if somebody absolutely must, maybe it's your partner and they're like, well, you've got the kitten in the house, can I at least hold the kitten? Wrap them up in a blanket and then get the person to sit down on a sofa, okay? So never be like, oh yeah, you're standing up, here's a kitten, okay? Because those kittens can move unexpectedly there. So the other thing that's beneficial about a wrap like that is if your kitten, as I mentioned earlier, is fussing, you'll sometimes have these little claws that by day 10, the little claws are starting to come out. They're growing, their little claws, so they're out of there and they don't have sheaths yet. So they have these little claws that just kind of hang out of their hands. And then they start doing this frantic, oh my God, I've got to get the milk, I've got to get the milk, kind of action there. So I have used a towel where I put them into a burrito roll, where I would tuck away the front feet and then I wrap them in the towel as a way to help them stay confined. Thank you, Stephanie, so I can model that for you. So, and I call them the burrito kittens, where literally I tuck those feet there under the blanket. So only their mouth and head is hanging out here. That kitten's not doing anything right now. And then I feed the kitten, because sometimes they get so frantic to eat that they need this kind of confinement. And if you have a fussy kitten, this is a fabulous way to do that. You really kind of tuck them up like that, and then that you can have full control over that kitten and what's going on at feeding time, okay? And then you can kind of feed it like that. And then I kind of hold them and I'll burp them. Holding and hugging and loving them is a really important step. Did I mention that? And then, you know, nighttime TV, they have to watch The Trader with you. Oh my gosh, right? So then you've got some success. You're going to start seeing a taste of success. Every morning or every evening, so choose one time every day that you're going to weigh that kitten, and make sure, this is critical, that kitten has to be gaining weight every day. It should be gaining around 10 grams. I operate in grams. I don't know what that is in ounces, but they should be doing about 10 to 12 grams per day in weight gain. And I'm a visual person, so I literally have a piece of paper on my fridge and I will hand graph it and see the chart going upwards. Okay. The first couple of days, maybe your kitten has been constipated and they've dumped out 30 grams of poop or whatever it would be. Obviously they're going to go down, but then after that they need to be gaining weight there. And if you have a kitten that it's struggling and you can see it's maybe not thriving as much as you want and the weight is going down, you can see on the chart, that's when you need to really reach out to Stephanie and the crew here at Humane, because there might be something going on. Maybe it's an undiagnosed, flu for the kitten, or there's something going on where they can't suckle properly, that type of stuff. But we're here to help you and support you through those types of things as well. So always weigh them every day at the same time and create a chart, as I mentioned here, and then monitor it. How do you weigh them? You can use just a kitchen weighing scale here, and you can put them in a nice bowl, get it to 0, weigh them here. If you've got a little kitten that is under 2 weeks and under, and they're feisty, because maybe it's a really active kitten and you like strawberries, save your strawberry container. And then I have been known, and my mentor taught me this, to put the kitten in the strawberry container, close it up, weigh them, and then take them out. Right? But this container will contain that kitten. They can breathe, there's holes in there, and by the time they've poured it and figured out, why did my world suddenly go blurry, you're done, you've weighed them there. Okay. So every day, be very religious about weighing your kitten there and monitoring it. When they get to around 3 weeks of age, you're going to start seeing the little teeth coming in there, and by week 4 to week 5 that you're starting to get ready to transition them onto wet food. You want to bring in a slow formula of 3 formula to 1 can of wet food. Humane will provide for you the wet kitten food there. and every 4 days start increasing the ratio. As you can see, very messy process here. And so this is a stage where you're going to use a lot of baby wipes, okay, there. And so once they are eating mostly wet, they will walk through the food initially, not even recognizing it as food, by the way, there. So what you want to do is monitor it, and I have, you kind of watch it, hand feed them a little bit, put it in their mouth and their tongue. Some of them will go, I'm not having that. Bring me back the formula. Some of them will be like, oh my God, what was that? Forget formula, right? That type of stuff. Every kitten and their personality will already be shining through by week 3 and 4 or 5 there. And so observe them. Make sure that if you have, especially if you have more than one, that kitten is actually getting a substantive meal, because they do sometimes what is called meat sucking, where you put them into a bowl of wet food and they will suck at it thinking it's formula. And they will suck and suck and suck and suck, and nothing's happening for that kitten. But they'll keep going. They'll be persistent, and you have to train them to do it. I had a kitten recently, actually it was one of the ones last year, where it took me until week 6 to teach that kitten to actually bite at the food. Yeah. And I said to Stella, I'm like, what is wrong with this picture here? So I literally had to stimulate the kitten's, jaws to get it to go, oh, that's what you do? With it. That's rare though. There. So normally they'll figure it out, they'll walk through it and then go, that smells pretty good. I might walk through that again. And then they start figuring it out. And supplement it with formula, obviously, if they don't get enough wet there. So supplement it with, and then also, again, always be mindful of cleaning them afterwards. You don't want kind of the meat drying out on their delicate skin and all that kind of stuff. It's all about keeping them super, super clean. I'll admit, when I first started and I didn't have a mentor, I got told off. My kittens weren't clean enough, but I didn't have a mentor.
Right.
I didn't have someone, training me like this, and then I learned fast.
Very important. All that dirt and bacteria, old food can cause almost like skin burns in the kittens. So
Yeah.
So how old are they at that point when you start introducing that wet in with their other stuff?
So around like week 4 or so, we'll start bringing that in. If you've got a really lusty kitten and that kitten's growing so fast, and you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, you're ready for wet, then try it. I kind of, as soon as I start seeing some of the more teeth coming in, I'm like, oh yeah, you're ready. There. And it again depends on the kittens. Then later on you introduce kibble, but I had a round of kittens that they wanted that kibble while they were teething, and they used it to help them to teeth. So every kitten is different. And so like I mentioned, I had a kitten that didn't want to eat wet. He just wanted to stay on the formula. And so every kitten, that's what's so fascinating, is that you have these like little creatures that you're like, oh, well, okay, that type of stuff. And then we get to what some people really think is the fun part. Your kitten now is thriving and growing, and people in your life will realize you have a cute kitten in your house, and they're going to want to pet it and play with it. The kitten won't really know how to play a whole lot, but bring your friends over and start socializing that kitten, especially around weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, go for it. And have kitten parties. I have had kitten parties where if I have a batch of kittens, I invite people that I think might be interested in adopting, or that they're just going to be great and come back more than once to play with the kittens. I have clear my living room out, and I used to put down toys and bring out the kittens and give my friends a glass of wine and say, okay, see you lot, I'm going off for a nap, kind of thing. And my friends loved it, and I would then maybe find some adoptive parents for the kittens too. When there. So this is the time you want to start socializing. It's really important to never let the kitten play with your fingers. Everybody's like, oh, little kitten, and they get their little fingers. But I always say, oh, can I give you a toy? And I give the human a toy. You always want to have a toy in between you and the kitten there, because otherwise that kitten's going to grow up and thinking that our little fingers are toys. Similarly, people tell me that people treat the kittens, treat them like they're a tree, and they're okay about the kitten walking up their legs, or sitting on their shoulder, and I say to them, well, you can do that now that that kitten's 1 pound, but are you going to want a 12-pound cat doing that to you? And so I stop all of that behavior there. And what is little known is that cats and kittens, you can train them like dogs. And so my cats at home greet me at the door when I come home. They never wake me up during the night. And they come when they call, all kinds of stuff. My cats are like dogs. They enjoy that mental stimulation, and I train my cats all kinds of different things there. And so you can do that with your kittens here. So pretty much happy kittens are kittens that eat well, they sleep a lot, they have alert, clear eyes, and they are gaining weight. And you'll see this, they should be looking healthy and happy here. Unhappy kittens cry a lot, which could be a signal that they have some kind of kitten thing going on, such as panleukemia or something, but we'll be here to help you and answer those questions and deal with those types of issues if they come up. Also, unhappy kittens maybe don't sleep, or they sleep too much. So that kitten is very lethargic and doesn't really want to suckle properly, those types of things. So we have some pamphlets at the back there on fading kitten syndrome. You might be interested in picking that up. And being realistic, out of the 100% of all kittens, some of them aren't going to make it. It's just kind of Mother Nature's thing. And so mentally you want to be prepared for that too. I always, whenever I foster, even if that kitten is super healthy, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, you're here, another day of play. Let's go, kind of thing. So I have that type of mindset where I'm ready for the unexpected, because you never know there. So keep an eye on your kitten and make sure that that little friend there of yours is doing really well. And while you're doing this, take care of you as well. Okay. So if you're starting to feel what we call compassion fatigue, where you feel like you have to save every kitten here in Savannah, Chatham County, you're not going to last long. Know that you have a supportive network. There are other people that will take the kittens. You don't have to say yes to every kitten. I've learned that the hard way there. And take care of yourself. Find babysitters for your kittens. I have done that too, where I'm like, hey, I'm going out on a date tonight. Can you take my kitten for the next 3 hours? What do I do? Nothing. Okay. Take time out. Take care of you here. And remember to enjoy the moments. People, if they look at my phones, it's photos of my house renovation and kittens. That's all I've got in there. Because I'm taking all these wonderful photos that I share with families and friends there. So, okay, let's see how many people are paying attention. Would we do this? Thumbs up, thumbs maybe, thumbs down. I'm seeing lots of thumbs down. Why would we not do that? Yeah. Why would we not do this?
Because it can inspirate.
Yeah, can aspirate. Wonderful. Good. Yeah, good job. All right. What about this one? Kitten in a glass jar. Being weighed. Thumbs up. Not sure. Thumbs down. I got some people saying yeah.
Okay.
Some people say no. Any not sure?
I think it's too small. It's scrunched up in...
What if you did it quick?
No.
No? Okay, so you would be kinder? Maybe give it a bigger container?
Maybe you would get a strawberry container.
You'd get a strawberry container? Okay.
It just be big and green.
Yeah, but it's got a top open. So maybe find a bigger container, but if that's all you had.
And it was quick.
Yeah, and if it was quick, we'll do like a maybe. How's that? Yeah, maybe? Okay. All right. What about this one? Got a little piece of toilet paper. Kitten's on its back. We're doing toilet, not feeding. Thumbs up, thumbs not sure, thumbs down. I'm seeing some thumbs up, some people are not sure. Yeah, we can do this one. Yeah, thumbs up.
It's coming out. It's not
coming
going
out, right, yes. Good, yeah, so it's coming out on this one. So yeah, we can kind of lie them down and, help them a little bit there. And you can see the kitten's all fed and it's all, you see how it looks content? It passes the eye test when we look at kind of this glass there. And then what about this one? Will we put a diaper in our kitten? Thumbs up? Not sure? Oh, lots of people thumbs down. Yeah, because you're doing the diaper, right? You're the diaper for the kitten, right? You have to do it for the kitten. Great. So I just want to end it with one more question. Happy kittens are A, warm, B, make clicking noises, C, are alert, or D, all of the above? D. Yeah, all of these things, that's right. Okay, so here are some ending stories. This is Saunders, my second little kitten here that I got. And Saunders had no mama. And Saunders, who I thought was a boy, turned out to be
Oh my God.
an incredible diluted calico there. So she was stunning, as you can see here. So that was Saunders. Remember Kiwi and Ozzy, the brother? Okay, so unfortunately Ozzy was so far with his flu that he didn't make it, but Kiwi did. And I found him an incredible home. Yeah, so Kiwi did well. These are my two little kids here, Gray and Sloan. This is Gray when I was bottle feeding her, tummy down, see that? And this is her, the selfie with the brother, okay? And this is them today, Gray and Sloan. So they are now 4 years old and going to celebrate their birthday in May. And then recently I had Puku. So Puku came to me where the umbilical cord was infected, and Puku was one that came to me off bird contact, long story how I got Puku. Anyway, I got this kid that wasn't well, and I said, Puku, in New Zealand, the tummy is called Puku. So I'm like, Puku, you've got a big thing on your belly, you're Puku here. And I have been known to name my animals after alcohol drinks. I should not say this in this forum here. So here is Puku, who's doing the bottle feeding. So Puku here is about just under 2 weeks old. And look at those paws. Okay. So you can see that Puku, the hair wasn't even really fully grown in yet, but look at these bright, clear eyes. So Puku is thriving. Okay. And I thought, oh Lord, look at those paws. How big are you going to be? Here. And there's Puku. This was her headshot. Okay, so I take all these beautiful photos of my kittens and I start passing them around to colleagues at work. Didn't you say your daughter was talking about wanting a kitten? I'm one of those people here. And Puku ended up being adopted out with Lily, one of my other former foster babies. And so the two of them live happily together there. So can you say goodbye to them when you see photos like this? And I still get sent photos of cats attacking their owners' Christmas trees. And I have a kitten that I bred bottle fed, and she lives on a 70-foot yacht, and all of her toys are fish themed.
I think she's living it good.
Yeah, I think so. So when we think about how really we are in this incredible space and time where we get to not only enjoy them but help these little fellas and then move them on into homes that honestly they treat them better than what I could give them the time and energy there, because the owners dedicate their time to them. And when you realize that there's more that needs your help that are just around the corner once you've taken a break, this is why you can say goodbye. Because a lot of people, again, they say to me, how can you say goodbye? And I say to them, if I said yes and kept every kitten that I bottle fed, I really would be a crazy cat lady. I would need money to support all that food for them there. So do we have any questions about anything that we covered, the content, or you were curious about? Well, we offer an advanced workshop as well. So do you want to share thoughts about that, Steve?
Yeah, so next week on March, I believe it's 10th, we're going to be having the advanced Pinky with the bottle feeding class. And we'll just be going over a little bit more in depth how to treat fading kitten syndrome,
The parasites, how to
and-
recognize, panleukemia, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, a little bit more of the medical sides of things, and we would love to see all of your faces there as well if you have the time. So.
Steps do you advise people to take?
Well, again, we want to set you up for success. So we wouldn't set you up with say, oh, here's a whole litter of kittens. Congratulations. No, we would typically give you 2 so that you would socialize them and then they can grow up as buddies and then hopefully get adopted out together. Yeah.
Do we have any questions regarding fostering for the Humane Society, maybe? That's a really good question. So we always recommend an acclimation room for older cats. Now neonatals, they're going to be attached to you. I mean, I would sleep
Right.
have
Yeah.
them sleeping next to me. I would just try to keep separation between your existing pets and your fosters.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you do it over time, I'm in a slightly different situation where my cats are used to me bringing in new
Right.
animals all the time, but so they're seasoned to it. But you know, your cats will watch and will smell the kitten on you, and that becomes part of the acclimation there. So you just watch it very gently, you know. But the little kittens, so when the kitten's maybe say 5 weeks old, it won't be challenging to an older established cat. They'll be more curious. Yeah. And they actually go into parenting roles. So my male cat will become like a mama. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for your time. We hope we see you at the advanced workshop. Feel free to take any of the handouts on the back there. And we'll be here next Friday.
Absolutely. My clothes are there too, so if you guys have any other questions, feel free to email me or call me, text. I'm always available. Okay.